So picture this, it's late, your parents just went to sleep, and you toss and turn in your bed, trying to find a way in order to actually fall asleep, but unfortunately, you can't. You realize you're not gonna be able to fall asleep. So you roll over and end up turning on the TV and hear those two beautiful chimes. That's right, baby. It's Adult Swim time. Adult Swim has always kind of been an enigma. You stay up late to watch some of your favorite shows, only to be thrown off every once in a while by things that you honestly felt weren't real.
I don't know why I'm here.
There have been moments where I'm watching Adult Swim, just enjoying my time, when all of a sudden they show a bumper that kind of just throws a curveball at me, and then I start to wonder about existence and who am I, and is any of this real? Sometimes it makes you feel like this only happened to you. Whatever happened on your screen only happened to you. It messes with your brain. Home of some of the most creative, unique shows, that's not just what Adult Swim is known for. It's kind of known for being its own monster. Every time you think of Adult Swim, you get this strange feeling.
Forced to orgasm!
Where you're teetering on the edge of sleep only to be awoken by a woman with black tar coming out of her mouth screaming at you. It's a feeling you can only receive from Adult Swim. And it's definitely one of those things that has traumatized many children across the world, including me. But when you get older, you only come to love it even more. Today, I want to deep dive inside of Adult Swim's little bussy and remind myself of all the things that I witnessed and also all the things that I don't remember witnessing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there have repressed memories of Adult Swim, of maybe a bumper or an infomercial or something that really is stuck with you into adulthood. And I'm gonna bring those things to the forefront of your brain so you can deal with it. And also, I've been saying bumper a lot. I'm sure a lot of people know what bumper is, but I'm gonna explain it. A bumper is basically something that is in between a commercial or in between a show. Those little 5 to 30 second slots that you always see, like maybe a random image, a random video with the Adult Swim logo with some banger music. And Adult Swim has the most unique and a lot of times disturbing bumpers that really make you question life. And I mentioned banger music before. I honestly will probably credit Adult Swim for the reason that most millennials nowadays love lo-fi. Because Adult Swim was doing that music way before the lo-fi hip-hop YouTube live streams. So anyway, those new to Iceberg videos, the basic concept of seeing the tip of the iceberg and just going really far down to find the things that are obscure and interesting. And all of this obscurity that you're going to see is my own opinion. Something that could be completely unknown to me could just be something common for you. So, take it with a grain of salt. So let's begin with the tip, tier 1. This is full of things that we all know and love. Well, I mean, some of them that we love. We got the Family Guy, the American Dad, the Robot Chicken, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, Metalocalypse, Moral Oral, the Boondocks, the Venture Bros, the Eric Andre Show, Tim and Eric Awesome Show, and the list goes on. All of those surface level shows that a lot of us love, some people don't love. And that's what's beautiful about Adult Swim, is sometimes they just throw on some weird ass shit. Honestly, Adult Swim is really the only channel willing to produce these strange and experimental shows. I mean, if you really think about it, what other channel would play a show like Xavier Renegade Angel? A show that follows some weird abomination creature just saying random shit. Don't get me wrong, I love this show. It's so funny and stupid. It's beautiful. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't really see any other channel playing a show like this. And next we have anime. Oh yes, anime. Sure, I mean, you could say this is just Toonami. We could lump Toonami in with Adult Swim because it's in that in-between slot between Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. However, there is a lot of anime that does play on Adult Swim. Also, Toonami recently actually moved to Adult Swim, which is awesome that Toonami came back. I honestly could make an entire video about Toonami and how much I love it. But anyway, anime on Adult Swim was always a mixed bag of treats. Honestly, it was the thing that really started my love of anime. I got introduced to so many good shows: Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, Dragon Ball Z. It also introduced me to one of my favorite animes of all time, and honestly one of the most underrated, which I'm gonna be talking about later. But something about staying up late and watching Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time, watch Vegeta sacrifice himself against Majin Buu, watching Yusuke versus Toguro, the finale of Cowboy Bebop, the absolute incredible soundtrack of Samurai Champloo. There's so many incredible moments of those late night anime watches. And it honestly took me many years before I actually rekindled that love of anime that I honestly forgot about. I might actually be reviewing some animes in the future on this channel, you know, if that's something you guys are interested in. And next we obviously have the original Adult Swim bumpers. And by original, I mean the classic Adult Swim announcement dude. You see all the adults swimming in the water, and then the dude gets on the intercom and says his little, you know, all kids out of the water, it's Adult Swim. This is one that a lot of people my age grew up on. You know, they eventually turned it into that classic just Adult Swim with the black screen. But anyway, that's pretty much the surface level, the stuff that a lot of us already know. Let's move on to tier 2. Adult Swim salvaged dead shows. That's just something I didn't really think about or know about really until I got older, but it makes a lot of sense. A lot of shows on Adult Swim are just shows that didn't make it on a different network or couldn't make it on a different network, and Adult Swim decided, you know what, we're gonna pick you up. For example, Family Guy and Futurama were actually just canceled shows from Fox Network that they actually picked up syndicate rights and ended up playing it on their channel and reviving these shows. This actually led to Family Guy moving back to Fox and eventually getting plenty of other seasons, just because all they did was just take the shows and just play the episodes on Adult Swim. So since we talked about the surface layer shows, let's talk about the non-surface layer shows, the unrecognized shows. Some underrated, some are just fucking weird. I'm gonna start with China, Illinois, because China, Illinois, I feel like was underrated. It was created by Brad Neely and it aired from 2011 to 2015. And honestly, not many people know about it, or at least from what I've seen, not many people know about it. This is a show that me and my wife watch and we honestly loved. It really has that Adult Swim vibe where, to put it simply, it's just not normal. Nothing about this show is really normal. The animation is very unique. The things that happen on the show a lot of times are strange, don't really make any sense sometimes. But at the end of the day, I freaking love this show and I feel like it didn't get enough credit. Moving on with the list, we also have Home Videos, kind of in the same vein. Interesting animation, strange show, but it's good. And then we have another Brad Neely show, Harg Nalin Sclopio Pipio. Yeah, the titles of these shows are gonna be very weird. Then we got Frisky Dingo, The Located, Moral Oral, NTSF SD SUV, Super Jail. Honestly, let's be real. I could go on for there's so many underrated, unrecognized shows that deserve more recognition on Adult Swim, but we're just gonna put that slot here. Actually, leave in the comments below, what is your guys' underrated show that you feel like not many people liked or not many people talked about when it came to Adult Swim? Because there's gotta be so many, and I know I definitely didn't mention them all. So leave in the comments below what shows you guys love. Now I wanna talk about one of my favorite animes of all time. A show that you probably stumbled upon in the middle of the night. You were watching it and you thought, what the fuck? What the hell is going on? That is, of course, FLCL, or as some people refer to it as Fooly Cooly. This show is the pinnacle of strangeness with purpose. Made by the same guy who made Evangelion, which I just want to mention, Evangelion sucks compared to Fooly Cooly. I said it, this show's not your typical run-of-the-mill anime, especially for those people who've seen Evangelion. There's so much happening in each episode, it really feels like you're getting whiplash. Whenever you try to understand something, maybe the symbolism behind something, you just get thrust into something completely different. The animation is spectacular, the messages hit home, and oh my god, the soundtrack, the band The Pillows is so fucking good. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. It's a goddamn experience and I love every second of it. That's the best way to describe it. The show perfectly fits the Adult Swim title, that crazy feeling of being on the verge of sleep. You see this anime come across you in the middle of the night, you expect something normal, and then you're just confused the whole time, your brain melts. For some reason, you can't stop watching. This show has been on my list for a long time because I really want to make an entire video about this show because there's so much that goes into it. There's so many things that I relate to with this show, which is why I really have a close connection with it. Next, we have Sam Hyde's $1 Million Extreme presents World Peace. Now, if you guys saw iDubbbz's video with Sam Hyde, you probably have heard of this. This one's interesting because, you know, it's Sam Hyde. And if you are unfamiliar with Sam Hyde, he's a YouTuber who is, he's interesting. You know, he's an interesting guy. Apparently, from what I've seen, it really just feels like the show is kind of just far-right Twitter, if that's a good way to describe it. There's moments where they mock Black Lives Matter. They call Lena Dunham a fat pig. They predict the impending death of Hillary Clinton in like support of Trump. This show does fit the bill of Adult Swim, you know, the whole anti-comedy, which if you guys don't know what anti-comedy is, long story short, it's being funny by being really unfunny. Kind of like Eric Andre's show does it really well, or Tim and Eric's show does it really well, or another show that isn't Adult Swim related, Comedy Bang Bang, they do that as well. Where if you showed it to, I would say, a normal person, they would just be confused because they would just be like, this isn't funny at all. But therein lies the comedy, is the fact that it isn't funny. It's so painfully unfunny that it's funny. Or also, another way you could look at it is anti-comedy is just making people very uncomfortable, and that is the comedy. But some of the things done in this show are just, you know, extreme, to say the least. It really just feels like no comedy, and all it is they're just trying to offend. But, I mean, when it comes to the alt-right in general, that is comedy to them. Just being overly offensive in order to get people offended, which, I mean, fits Sam Hyde. And next we have April Fools. This one actually goes pretty deep, because something else synonymous with Adult Swim is April Fool's jokes. Something that they've consistently done every year since 2004, when they put mustaches on random characters during episodes. Again, like I said before, Adult Swim is its own monster. Like, no other channel is gonna do this stuff. So let's just run down a list of stuff that they did. They aired different shows than they said they would. They ended up airing reruns of old shows like Mr. T, Chuck Norris, and Boo Boo Runs Wild. They did a full episode of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but they added fart sound effects. They aired a show called Perfect Hair Forever, which is a very interesting show, in reverse, and they gradually made each episode more and more like a VHS tape with subtitles that didn't match what they were saying. I don't know why, but okay. One of the more infamous pranks was the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. This one is honestly hilarious. They ended up promising to play the movie on Adult Swim a week before it releases in theaters, which they actually did live up to that promise. However, they ended up putting that movie into a small corner of the screen with no audio while they just played their regular programming. One time they actually aired the entire movie of The Room, followed by an episode of Tim and Eric starring none other than Tommy Wiseau. And then in 2010, they actually brought Tommy Wiseau back for an interview on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. They actually used The Room movie as a bit for the channel quite a lot for April Fools. And in 2016, they did an anti-April Fools joke, hyping up the fact that it's their 12-year anniversary of April Fool's jokes, and then they just proceeded to do the planned programming without any questions asked. Nothing changed. Just another thing that truly makes Adult Swim more than just a regular programming block on a channel. All right, let's move a little bit deeper to tier 3. This one was very interesting. I didn't even know they did this. Direct audience communication. In 2003, Adult Swim switched out its generalized pool-based bumpers in favor for a text-based bumper speaking to the audience directly. This is something I just thought was cool because I've never heard of any block on a channel or channel in general actually communicate with their audience. Adult Swim random shows that just don't belong. They take random shows that you wouldn't normally see on Adult Swim and then they just play it on there just because it's funny. For example, there was a time when they randomly played an episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse, or playing the rude removal episode of Dexter's Laboratory, which we talked about in another Iceberg, the legendary band episode where they bleeped out the cuss words.
Where the fuck are we?
I don't know if Adult Swim is where they actually unbleep the cuss words, and I feel like the most notorious one of all is the fact that they have syndicate rights to Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And if you guys don't know what that means, characters like Fred Flintstone, Shaggy, Yogi Bear, and others like that, they can use and do kind of whatever the hell they want with them. Which leads me to Boo Boo Runs Wild. This was a standalone animated special parody, and it was created created by none other than the disgusting human trash can, John K. I'm calling him K because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But this is a dude we actually talked about on the Nickelodeon Iceberg. If you want to know how much of a disgusting piece of shit he actually is, you can go watch that Iceberg. But anyway, he is the creator of Ren and Stimpy. But in this show, they depicted beloved characters like Yogi Bear and Boo Boo doing some quite interesting things, I would say. Damn, this makes me feel weird. There's actually another parody that they made as well called A Day in the Life of Ranger Smith, where we see Ranger Smith checking out Yogi and Boo Boo's cocks in the shower. Really makes you uncomfortable knowing that it was John K. who made this. Next, we have Timeline Split. This one is more of just a meme. Adult Swim released a tweet in 2022, recently, displaying a timeline split. You know, this was during the time everyone was panicking about COVID and such. And it basically implies that every terrible thing that has happened in our life was all caused by a timeline split whenever Harambe passed. Yeah, they actually drew a timeline split that showed whenever Harambe died, it split the timeline and we're on the shit timeline. Next, we have the William Street logo ding sound. Now, this is one we all have heard once in our life. This one I just thought was interesting because just knowing where it came from is pretty cool. Taken from Mark 7 Limited. And the intro shows a dude hammering in the 7 in metal. And that sound is what they use. Next, we have Fish Center Live. Now, this show is just something else. It started as a talk show on the Adult Swim website, kind of similar to their live streams. And it was in 2014, and they gradually started airing the show on Adult Swim in 2015. It was a weekday call-in talk show over the top of footage of tropical fish. I'm not really sure how the point system worked in this, but the fish were ranked according to these said points and were awarded when they complete challenges. One of the more unique shows I've heard of. There's actually some top tier music guests that have been on there, like Dinosaur Jr., 100 Gex, and Billie Eilish. I actually watched the little interview portion of them with Billie Eilish, and all they talked about were dads, and the entire time Billie Eilish just looked really annoyed and upset. So you know it probably has that same, for example, Eric Andre feel where it looks like it's a normal talk show and then they just shout random ass shit and then make the guests uncomfortable. All right, let's move on to tier 4. This is where things get a little bit creepy. Let's start off with The Dawn Is Your Enemy. This one kind of turned into a creepypasta after a while because of how terrifying it is. Basically, all it is just a bumper with a screen that says The Dawn Is Your Enemy, and it shows some eyes, it shows the sun underneath there, some flowers, and the audio that plays underneath is the thing that sends chills down your spine. It just makes you very uncomfortable. But the creepypasta basically says that there was one time that they accidentally, quote unquote, let the thing run for too long. And the audio that normally only lasted like 9 seconds went on for 2 minutes. And gradually it kept getting worse and worse. You heard the sounds of people screaming, flesh being chopped up, bones being crushed, multitude of people screaming bloody murder. And a lot of people assume this was some recording of mass murder or something like that. That's kind of how the creepypasta goes. You can actually find the whole song on YouTube, but someone actually made a fan-made edit and the sun winks at you and all that different nonsense. But another thing about this is apparently the reason it was created was solely for the reason of scaring children. Next, we have the Moonanite Boston Scare. So there was a guerrilla ad campaign for Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And unfortunately, they did this ad campaign off of a recent bombing in Boston. So everyone was, you know, a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, you know, who's gonna do it next, you know, what's gonna happen next. The Boston Police Department and Fire Department mistakenly mistakenly took these LED pictures of a character with their middle finger up as bombs because they were spread out throughout Boston and, you know, just out of nowhere, and people were concerned. It's kind of an unfortunate situation, right? Because it was just bad timing for them to do it around this time, and also at the same time, maybe it was an overreaction from the fire department and the police department. It's better to be safe than sorry. Kind of just a misunderstanding, bad situation that turned into massive panic. Looking at it now, it's kind of ridiculous, but you know, it's what it is. Next, we have the 4 a.m. twilight hour. Now, this one is low on the list, not necessarily for its obscurity, but for its uncanny strangeness. I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of what I'm about to talk about. You expect one thing, and then they throw you into a world that you can't even tell if it's real or not. Is this really happening on my screen, or am I imagining this? One of the prime shows that really did this for me is Off the Air, which is basically Acid Trip the show. It starts off with one thing, and then it just turns into a psychedelic trip, and then transitions into another thing, and then back into a psychedelic trip. It really makes you question reality. It always gave me a weird combination of anxiety and calmness, because the anxiety was there because I have no idea what the hell I'm about to see, but the calm was because some of it was pretty soothing and kind of was nice and was pretty. Odyssey Off the Air is such a unique and amazing show. But moving on, next we have the legendary infomercials. Yeah, we're gonna lump this in with the 4 a.m. twilight hour because that's where this happened. So Too Many Cooks and Unedited Footage of a Bear. Both of these have been dissected to a great degree and talked about all over the place. The video starts out with what looks like a 90s sitcom intro, and then gradually it devolves into a horror short as we see this murderous man appear throughout the intro. There's some gore in there, there's some blood out of nowhere. This one's a little cut and dry when it comes to the details, at least of the other ones, but holy shit, it was beautifully crafted. Imagine watching this just thinking, oh, what is this? They're probably just playing some funny 90s show, and then you start seeing this dude appear, start murdering people. It would mess with your brain, and boy did it. You would start questioning reality. And then next we have Unedited Footage of a Bear, which I think is the more uncomfortable of the two. This one really kind of fucked with me. I was so uncomfortable watching it when I was younger, I had to shut it off. Honestly, just that one shot of the woman in the middle of the road that just starts running towards you, I don't know what it was when I was younger, but I just got the chills and I couldn't watch it. So it starts out with actual unedited footage of a bear that was interrupted by a commercial break. And this commercial starts out just like any other commercial, but again, just like the previous one, you know, Too Many Cooks, it devolves into a dark horror short. A woman gradually falling into madness as we all watch. I feel like this one goes even deeper than Too Many Cooks when it comes to the theories, the idea behind its meaning, what the deeper story is within it. Now this next one by far makes me the most uncomfortable and is probably the scariest out of the bunch. It's called This House Has People in It. This one definitely has the most detail and the most theories behind it. It's honestly an uncomfortable masterpiece. Something about the simple concept of having something where it's not supposed to be, yet it acts like it's normal. Like for example, a hand that's turned in a weird way, but it's set in a way where it almost acts like it's normal. Highly recommend watching this if you enjoy anything horror. Next we have fan service moment bumps. This is kind of just a funny one. Apparently for a while there, Adult Swim did a little bumper bit called the fan service moment, where they take random still frames of animes that show like upskirt shots of girls. I actually never saw any fan service moments when I was younger. I just found this kind of funny that they did this. Next we have the Lorax contract. This is something that I think is funny. Me and my wife both signed this contract, and they had a little pledge that you had to take. Apparently, in order to watch this movie in theaters, you actually had to sign a contract that stated you were not allowed to watch the Lorax because it's bad. But just thinking about the ridiculousness of this back then was so hilarious that the contract literally stated that you're not allowed to watch the Lorax. Moving on to tier 5. Now, I wouldn't say everything here is insanely obscure, but but I left everything that would be triggering to some people or extra scary for others. I try to make sure all of the darker stuff tends to be in tier 5. The Naruto Sandbox incident. Now this one isn't necessarily just Adult Swim. This has to do with Naruto specifically, but the child did watch it on Adult Swim, so that's where this comes from. Basically, what happened is a kid was trying to recreate Gaara, the sand ninja, and his friends tried to recreate that in a sand pit. And unfortunately, one of the kids met their untimely demise by putting their head in the sand and burying it, and then he died. Yeah, quite unfortunate. And it was just a 10-year-old boy. And watching the video of it, it's so sad because who the hell could predict this? You can't really blame the parents because, I mean, it's like, this big of a sand pit? Like, what are you gonna say? Don't play in that because I'm worried that you're gonna shove your head in it and die? It's just one of those situations that no one could have predicted, and it just unfortunately happened. Next, we have the Screaming Woman bumper, which I'm gonna kind of lump into the scary bumpers in general. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to run a reel of the scariest bumpers I could find, the ones that really stuck with me. And the Screaming Woman bumper, probably the top tier of the bunch. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and seeing this. What the fuck? It kind of reminds me of the Calm Drive video. There isn't really much to say about these, but I want you to close your eyes for a second and bring yourself back to that time. It's 3 in the morning, you know, you're having trouble going to sleep. You crack your eyes open and all of a sudden you see one of these bumpers or multiple of these bumpers on the screen. And after being creeped the hell out, you're not going to sleep. Hell, no, you're gonna be looking behind your back, you're gonna be checking your closet, you're gonna be looking under your bed, looking out the window, making sure no one's out there. Think about that. Next, we have the Adult Swim ARG. This is something I had no idea happened. A lot of times it involves very complex puzzle solving and riddles, but the name of this ARG was Delilah. Thinking about how insanely complicated it is to make an ARG, there's actually a really good video I saw that was detailing this ARG from a channel called Red Herring. I'll leave all the links to the videos that I mentioned in the description, by the way. Highly recommend checking it out. Now, this last one here is obviously the most known out of everything. And you're like, what the hell, Pig? Why the hell would you put the most known thing ever on the last one? It's because of how triggering some of the shit that Justin Roiland has said is going to be in. There's something a little bit more I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the allegations. Surprisingly, I want to talk about something different. There is this podcast that he's a host of called the Grandma's Virginity Podcast. He said some insanely questionable things that really gets you wondering. And I just want to preface this with a warning. Oh my God, it's hard to listen to this.
Go back and be a 4th grade kid right now with what I know. Oh my God, I'd be like walking around. I'd be getting laid every fucking day.
Gross.
And
in
it would be
4th grade.
and it would be legal too because I would be a little kid.
And he's been practicing on a 4th grader now, so he knows how to do it.
No, she's 22.
She does have braces though.
I love it. I love the braces. It's hot.
Okay. Says anyways. She said she had a nice ass.
I'm not a pedophile though. All right. Jesus Christ.
Didn't really want.
I'm not attracted to fucking little kid bodies. I like fucking women body. Look, I'll say, look, a fucking 14-year-old that looks like she's 18 and like big titties and a nice.
Yeah.
Like, of course I'm attracted to that.
Ooh, yeah.
That's why this whole Chris Hansen thing. I'm like. Fuck you, man. These girls are like, they're fully developed, and they're like, talking online. I want you to fuck me.
You mean
and shit.
the girls that old men or women pretend to be to lure the pedophiles into the house?
Yeah, but they would email photos of what they look like, and the ones I saw were like, that girl's fully fucking developed woman. Yeah, like, come on, back in like, how are we that fucking like as a race? Are we that crazy? Like when we were fucking 100 years ago, it was little 13-year-old girls. If they were built like a woman, they were getting married and having kids. And now we're gonna be all precious about it. I keep using the word precious today. I'm not a pedophile though. I do follow the law.
I'm a pedophile.
I wait till they're 18 if I'm ever so lucky as to have the opportunity.
For an 18-year-old.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
and
But look, I just said I was a pedophile and nobody minded.
Well, that's because it's not as gross. You're a woman.
because you're a woman.
Yeah.
It's cool, huh?
You know, everyone's like, oh, young girls are so delicate and you're gonna
17, sexy and 17.
Yeah, no, they're dude. Some girls, sure. Other girls,
I'm
come
talking
on.
about boys.
You're not going to
boys.
make me cut this, are you, Justin?
No, I'm fine.
Cause
Look,
I'm
because I don't
giving
break
you-
the law. I would never break the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I would never. Not only, first of all, pedophilia is absolutely revolting. I'm talking about women, girls who look like fucking women.
What is your?
I'm saying
have
they're
we said
I'm
Justin's
attracted to
girlfriend's
women.
name?
When is he gonna stop? Is the joke over? It's one of those things where in your head you're just telling him, stop. Why does he keep digging the hole? The thing that's so concerning about this is the fact that he's so confident. It's so like, obviously this is how things should be. He is proudly admitting the fact that he would find a 14-year-old girl hot. So that really begs the question, what the hell has he done where he's trying to convince everyone else that it's okay to think like this? It's like he has a guilty conscience in his head that he really wants to get cleared, but it ain't working. Also, why the hell is no one telling him how fucked up this is? Yeah, Justin Roiland's the next John K. Again, all of these goddamn icebergs just make me wonder what is going on in the higher ups? What is going on with the higher up actors, the higher up producers, everyone that is in these celebrity big positions that can get away with this shit and have no issues whatsoever? I really wanted to kind of just focus on the uniqueness and coolness of Adult Swim, but you know, Justin Roiland had to kind of ruin that for everyone, didn't he? But thank you everyone for watching this Iceberg. If I missed something or if there's something that you guys thought that I should have talked about, let me know in the comments below. It might be something I could bring up again in the future because, you know, Adult Swim is a pretty deep sack. Santa's sack is pretty deep when it comes to Adult Swim, you know what I'm saying? So if you guys like this video, please like the video. Please subscribe. Please share this with your friends, all right? Come on, let's get to a mill. Let's get to 1 million one day. One day.